In this video, we're taking a look at the Rolex Daytona Rainbow, but it's an aftermarket set one. I'm going to give my opinion on it and whether it's a good deal. The watch in this video belongs to Ken Watches, watch dealer in Hong Kong. Do check them out. So let's start with what this watch used to be. Now this is an aftermarket set one, so it used to be a solid rose gold Daytona, reference 116505. The 5 at the end signifies that it's rose gold. And so this particular one comes with the black dial and meteorite gold sub-dial combination. In its basic state, non-iStat, it's a really nice watch. All solid gold Daytonas are fantastic in terms of dimensions, tactility, weight, and feel and wrist presence. They've got it all. All of it's really good. So this 116505 retails at around the $40,000 mark, and with the grey market pricing, it's about 10 to 25% more, at least currently. So, but that's not the story of this watch. That's the history of this watch. It is now something totally different. So somebody decided it was a great idea to take a drill to what was a magnificent watch. Someone literally took a drill and started boring holes in the side of the case, and they swapped out the bezel. I hope they swapped out the original bezel and didn't just shred the original one to set these gemstones on it. And the dial, the markers are different. I don't mind those. It's quite nice. Even the bezel. If they swapped out the bezel, that's pretty cool looking. So they decided to drill into the case and throw some shiny pebbles in it. I cannot fathom who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to come and wreck what was such a beautiful watch. Now, I understand the market for iStat watches, entirely iStat watches, so every single surface that used to be in metal now has a diamond on it. So that is a specific clientele, but yeah, a lot of those aftermarket setters, they fabricate the entire case and bracelet. All of it is not actually the watch it represents. It's not made by the brand, and usually they don't drill into the original stuff, and they just swap in a movement, hopefully the original movement of the watch. Sometimes it's just a comparative. So, but in this circumstance, this Daytona, it's got the original bracelet. It's just got a destroyed case and a swapped out bezel and changed markers on the dial. I don't know if this is a dial swap. I don't think so, because it looks pretty stock apart from those markers. So I understand this iStat thing as much as I understand people wanting to pay extraordinary amounts for gold leaf on ice cream. It's just purely theatrical. It has no innate value. It removes innate value, at least. It removes material, and it removes everything special that was there in the watch. It's now, without the diamonds, it's kind of a block of rose gold cheese. I don't mind bling. That's not what I'm getting at. Personal taste is not the issue here. It's just destroying the case is what I have an issue with. The watch was already wildly expensive and ostentatious. Now, so much more was spent to make it more ostentatious, but worth less, which is kind of why it might be a deal. But we'll get onto that later. So let's get on to how it wears. It really wears almost the same as a solid gold precious metal Daytona. You don't feel any weight differences, but when you look at it, the perception is entirely different, and then it makes you feel different about the watch. But if it's just sitting on your wrist in terms of dimensions, they're all the same. The tactility is the same. The bracelet, thank God, is untouched, and it's magnificent. But then you take a look at that case and it all goes to shit. A lot of people would categorize this as a Daytona on steroids. You know, that common term for anything souped up. But I would categorize this as a Daytona on crack. When you take a look at it, it somehow manages to carry a sense of cheapness that is obviously not there on the solid gold Daytonas. Mainly because of the iced out nature. It just looks cheap. It does not look its value. I really like the bracelet, mainly because it's stock. I do like the dial as well, even though it's not stock. I think the gemstones positively accentuate the dial, add a little bit of flair, a little bit of color, although it's completely not necessary, but I don't see it as too much of a bad thing. So do I like this watch? No. Surprise. But do I think it's a bad deal? No, I actually don't. So there's this whole hypocrisy surrounding the Rolex Daytona Rainbow, the factory set one. And that's that everyone seems to appreciate that watch because it's factory set. And thanks to John Mayer, Ellen, Mark Wahlberg, the list goes on. But thanks to them, everyone seems to have this insane appreciation because of the rarity and specialness and how it's not in the Rolex catalog and those factors of the factory set watch. Well, an aftermarket set one can actually be done to the same caliber as a factory set watch. Even at Rolex, they still have to do the same things. They still have to drill into the case. Of course, they have the best QC, but that doesn't mean others can't have really great QC. Top of the line jewelers can actually achieve the same level of quality. Rolex obviously does not produce their own stones. They have to source it. Jewelers can do the same. They could even source higher quality stones. So is there a real difference between the aftermarket one and the actual Rainbow Daytona? Well, if you get a really high standard aftermarket one, I'd say there isn't, apart from the elephant in the room, which is the massive difference in value. The factory one can never be a deal, but it can be a great investment. It seems to appreciate a lot. And that's mainly because of the rarity behind not being able to get it from Rolex at all. And that's going to stay the same. So, but that's currently the price of a house or a really, really nice car. I'd prefer the car. And this one is the price of maybe an average car. So you can't compare the two by any stretch. But the thing with appreciating one over the other, that doesn't make all that much sense because they can be almost virtually the same thing. So that's why it is a good deal. It loses value once it's gem set. So the relative cost to enter one after having it done or buying it technically used is somewhat of a deal if that is the exact thing that you want. It's only a deal because of the narrow scope of its comparative watches. There's hardly anything in this weird segment that's better value than this, and it is a Rolex, so even though it's kind of screwed up to the seasoned collector, it will still always be able to cash in on the name and the fact that it's solid gold. Do I recommend this? Well, I think you know the answer to that. You should check out this video I made on something much better, also a Daytona, a solid gold Daytona that I really like, and probably you would.